my bridge. Oh. All right, welcome back, tubers. As I showed you last time in the last episode, I peeled back the flooring so that I can have access to the subfloor. Eventually, all of that flooring in the kitchen's all going to go. You know, I get all brand new stuff. Anyway, what we did, I needed access to enough of the good subfloor to trim it off so I can put the new subflooring on here. Okay, so what I did was that on the other subflooring, after I got it all out, what I did is on top of this beam, right, we've got two beams that run down the middle of the house, one big beam here and one big beam over there. As I said, we're about 30 feet wide, and each of the main beams are about 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet. Okay, so on the top of the beam, I put a 2x6, and then instead of the old framing crisscrossing, what I do is we come up to butt up to the 2x6 that's on top of the beam, and then I'm able to put in screws into the end of it, like that, and it makes it all real sturdy. So, I had already completed over to this one joist. Now here's an interesting fact. In the older part of the house, the 2x6s are on 24-inch on centers, and I'm going 16-inch on centers. Not for any particular reason. I happen to like 16 on centers a little better than the 24. So this one was already here, if you saw earlier. And then I just added this one yesterday. Like I said, I cleaned it all back, and then I shaved the subflooring right in the middle of this 2x6 that I had for a header up here on top of the beam. Shaved it like that, and there was a big 4x6 over there, so I shaved down there to give me a platform to glue and screw the new subflooring to it. So when I get to it, I've got this almost set up to where I add a couple of more of these 2x6s, and then I can start laying the subflooring in the kitchen here. Now, as I go around, then I'm going to start patching in with new subflooring and old subflooring, and, you know, we'll get it all sturdy as can be. And it'll be strong. It'll be stronger than what it used to be, you know, so that's what I'm looking forward to. Now, yesterday I cut this beam, as I can show you. As it turns out, this beam happens to hit right inside this joist, the floor joist, happens to hit right at the middle of the big beam. So the joist hanger actually, it spreads across two beams. So what I do, the top is all going to be glued and screwed. The joist hanger will be hanging on this side and that side, holding them two together. And then I picked up at the used building supply a metal plate, a nailing flange. So what I'm going to do that is on the bottom, I'll stick Ticos all through here. On the bottom, I'll hold the bottom together. The top's going to be glued and screwed to all the subflooring, and then the sides are going to be held together. You know, so here I'll line up on my pencil mark, come down here. See how tight that fits? That's a perfect fit. And then again, line up on my pencil mark. Get in there. Ah, woo! Those are 4-inch screws. I only need 2 of them, 1 on each side. And then I'll come in from the other side with 1 to catch the end of it. There. So, these are never going to go anywhere. Okay. That's solid as an ox. Solid as a subfloor, I'll tell you right now. So, once I get the subflooring across here, I'll have to trim it to match. But then it'll be glued and screwed, like I did with this other part of the floor over here. Well, I tell you, I get dirt and dust and everything on top of here. So anyway, but I'll blow that all off. Okay, so we're getting there. Kitchen floor is coming along. My biggest problem was the bathroom floor. We got that all up and ready to go. Again, it's still down about 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches. You can't see the door header, but it's still down over here. This is down about at least 2, maybe 3 inches. It's almost level with the beam right now as it is. But I still got to get subflooring underneath there. And so anyway, we're going to jack this all up. Now, this 4x6 that I got down here right now is my temporary beam. I happen to have found it stuck up underneath here. The subfloor was not nailed to it. So that's a bonus, right? I want to be able to pick up quite a bit of weight here, only for a little while until I get everything leveled and situated here. So I got my 12-ton jack underneath it. I got it, I slid it under there, and I kind of got it all tightened up and everything. So it's ready to go. So that's where we are right now. And again, like I said, this used to be a crawl space underneath here. It is, we are almost 3 feet deep here. You can see right here. If I step down here closer to the mud, you know, it's coming up to here. So we're about 3 feet deep. Anyway, as I level off more and more of this dirt, I'm going to pull a lot of it in here and then fill in the low spots here. We don't need this anymore for a crawl space. If I'm at 2 foot high underneath my joists, that'll be great everywhere. I'm a little over 2 feet in there. I'll level that off. I'm about 1.5 feet right here. I can pull some of that down. And then we continue on. Now, yesterday, as I was digging around, I pulled out some more plumbing that used to be in the house. Right? Old metal iron pipe. Well, we're not going to use that. We're going to go to PEX. And then some old wiring. This probably, I got to trace it out, but it probably, now this is good wire. This is Romex. It probably goes to, whoop, like outlets. You can see that one, outlets. So 12-2 with ground. So I'll make sure that all of it gets freshened up and all the outlets work, and then I'll attach my inverter going to the breaker box, and then it'll feed the whole house. Whew. There we go, 4-inch screws. 4-inch screws are great for going through 2x. Now, I don't have my tape measure, but everything measures out, right? And then as I continue over here, I've got 1, 2. There's another short one, but I can't use it. It's too short. However, if I had to, I can go the other way. Anyway, something that we noticed, I noticed when I was tearing this floor apart, I was looking at this joist over here. I wanted to be able to put subflooring up to this beam right here, but I thought it was a 2x6. My God, was I wrong? This is another 5x8, 5x7. 5x7. Like this one right here. They had a 5x7 on that side, And then they had another one over here. Like I said, if it wasn't nailed to anything, I assume that it was framing the opening for the furnace that used to be there, the oil fire furnace. There's a copper tube that goes down into the ground outside the foundation, and I see back by the water main, I got a 2-inch water main back there in the alley. What used to be an alley, it's vacated now, it's all overgrown, but there's an access for the water main to turn on and off, whatever. And then next to it, there's another access, and I'm assuming that's where they filled the oil tank. I believe that somewhere in the backyard over there, I have an oil tank. I got to find that sucker. Because if it's still good, you know, doubtfully it's good. It'll probably have to be removed. But I'll have a professional come out, scope it, and see if there's anything left in it, and if it's still good or not, you know. Usually what happens there, water sinks to the bottom because diesel fuel floats on water, and the water in the bottom rots out the bottom of the metal tank, and it rusts out. And then you got, you know, diesel gas in the soil out there. But hasn't been used in 30 plus years. I don't know when they had converted over to baseboard heating. But that was their upgrade path at the time. They went from oil-fired furnace to baseboard heaters. Baseboards are not, they're very inefficient, but that's what they had back then in the days. I'm assuming that was 40, 50 years ago, 40-ish years, because 30 years ago, that's when this house was vacated. Some of the history along this house is that it had a steel septic tank, and the house was built back in the early 30s, so in the 80s, that would have been roughly about 50 years, they condemned all of those steel tanks because, you know, they rust and they fall apart or whatever. They're well past their means at 50 years, and then that's why they started putting in concrete ones, and then nowadays they've got the hard plastic ones. They're about half the price as concrete, and you just drop them in and do everything the same. So, which I like to do. So, everything to save a couple of bucks. But getting back to what I'm saying over here, I've got a 4x6. There was a 5x7 right here, and a 5x7 right here. I'm thinking that most of this weight right here, or this structure, held up the weight of the middle of the house. Well, this is almost the middle. Upstairs, I got 2 knee walls that are 4 foot high on each side of the thing. Now, the knee wall over there is about halfway through the living room. So, and then this is roughly the middle of the house, and then I got a 4x6 over here. But there's still quite a bit of weight coming down on the middle of the house. Now, the post and beam is great. I mean, that's 14 by 14s right there. And everything is solid as a rock. Now, I'm having to replace most of the flooring in the 2 bedrooms up front here because on the west side of the house, the dirt on the outside of the house got deeper and deeper. You know, as the years went by, the leaves that fall and get blown up against the side of the house, they disintegrate and they incorporate into the soil, and the soil gets deeper and deeper on this half of the house, the west side, north side, south side. So I've dug out most of that on the south side. I still got to go around. I've dug out most of it on the north side. So I've only got like 30, 25-foot patch over there. And as it so happens, there's a couple of trees that are living right next to the house. Those are going to be coming down. So maybe in one of these films, I'm going to grab my chainsaw and whack those off. I don't have enough room to fall the whole tree in the yard. So what I do is I'll go up on the roof and I'll whack them off at the top, and the top will fall over, and then I'll get the bottom and I'll lay it down on the side of it. So, oh, God. Anyway, as you can see, the floor is coming along. I took the opportunity and I moved the tub over here into the bathroom area. It's got to fit back into that nook over there. You'll see that later on. Now, one thing that I noticed when I got this house, I looked at this tub. There is not a chip in this thing. This is a cast iron. Now listen to this. This is not a standard or cheap cast iron tub. It's one of the things I noticed about this house when I decided to buy it, right? The amenities it had. Full solid foundation all the way around, even though it was post and beam. At some point somebody made full concrete foundations. Not cinder block, this was full concrete. But the tub, I measured it. This tub is not a 5-foot tub, it's 5.5. That's extra long and extra premium. This is not 3/8 cast iron. This is 1/2-inch cast iron. 1/2 inch. This thing is so heavy. I drug it on the floor. It took me the better part of a couple of hours just to move it 6-7 feet. Man, I was tugging on that sucker. When it was in the hole in the bathroom, it fell through the hole because of the softened floor. I used a trucker strap, the 2-inch kind, not the 4-inch kind, but the 2-inch kind. I laced it around the ceiling joists, and it's rated at 833 pounds. This trucker strap, one of those ratchet straps. I busted that sucker trying to get this thing out of the hole. So I had to get creative with 2x6s, lifting the weight up and taking the weight off with the ratchet strap, lifting it up, jacking it, you know. Oh man, it's more than one guy that can move this thing, you know. And when my friend was helping me move it across the floor over to here where it was and parked in the kitchen, whew, that was more weight than 2 gentlemen can handle. That takes 3 men and a small boy to move that thing. I was inching this thing. I was taking a 2x6, that one that I just showed you a little while ago, and I would do this side a little bit, and that side a little bit, that side a little bit. It'd move an inch. I inched it across the floor. My God, this thing is heavy. And then later, this is much later, about a year or so later after I bought the house, we found the sink that went into the kitchen here. And it was tucked into the closet there. It was buried behind a mattress that was there. They used the back of a box spring. They used that box spring to climb up into the crawl space to get up in the attic. Well, I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to make another bedroom up there in my YouTube studio. But that sink, again, quality. That weighed over 100 pounds. It took my friend and I, 2 of us, to get that thing lifted up. What I did is I took the bedroom door and I laid it up there for a kitchen counter. You may recall seeing that before. There was still the cleat that was against the wall. So what I did is I put it up against the cleat and I put a 2x4 for a leg out here, and it just screwed right to the wall. Man, that one leg. But I cut the hole for the sink, and it took 2 of us to pick it up and put it in there. Oh, cast iron kitchen sink. The only problem is it's brown. You know, it's autumn brown. I don't know what they call that. Luckily, the tub is white. I'm going to get it all cleaned up and scrub. I'll get some scrubbies on it. There's not a mark on it except for the dirt. That'll all clean off. You take one of those Scotch-Brites, whatever, scrub it right up. I love that tub. So being a thicker cast iron, it'll hold the heat a little better. Now I'm going to throw a lot of insulation. There's a little bit of insulation that I'm pulling out of the walls. I'll just tuck it in there and make it nice and cozy, you know? And then that tub will retain a lot of its heat once I get it working. Again, I gotta patch in with the subflooring to go around the bathroom floor here. And then when I do that, I'm going to have to try to get it over there in the corner where it's supposed to be. And then this divider wall here between that and the utility room, I got to knock it over 2 inches to come up the side of this thing. I've got it pushed over just a little bit at the bottom here so I can tuck this tub in here and then repair that floor. And then we'll get back to it. And then I pulled out some plumbing, as you saw. There was one pipe came over here, teed off for the bathroom, I guess, because there was a couple other pieces of plumbing that was over there on the other side. I'm assuming that may have gone to the furnace, like a fire suppression system. I don't know anything about those. I don't know how that works, but there's no reason to have pipes on that side of the house. That's the front side of the house. All there is the living room and a bedroom. There's no reason to have pipes over there. But for some reason, there was a couple of pipes tossed up there on top of the dirt, and I dug those out. There's nothing I can use them for because it's metal iron pipe, unless I want to make a bench or something like that, or use it for a closet rod. That's probably what I'll do. Upstairs or something like that, I'll use that for closet rod, because that's not half-inch metal iron pipe. That's 3/4 inch. Whew, that's 3/4 inch. That's, you're talking some sturdy metal iron pipe here. What I could do is sand it all up, right? And I can either paint it or anodize it or leave it bright. Take some single lot steel wool and make it all shiny and everything. Or more likely, I'll take a flapper disc on my my grinder or whatever, and just kind of make it all pretty. And that'll be a great closet rod, because from what I was mentioning earlier, this other second bedroom is going to be all chopped up. One partly, third of it's going to be used for a stairwell to go upstairs, and secondly, it's going to be my walk-in closet for the master bedroom. And so then I'm going to need some closet space in there. And I'll have to design some hanging storage, some cubbies, and they got 2 windows in there, so it's going to have like 2 window seats, but the windows are fairly high. They come 3.5 feet off the floor, so it's not exactly, you can't exactly just sit in a window seat cubby and look out the window so much. I mean, you could, but I'll have to see how that goes. I'll keep you apprised. So anyway, I just wanted to touch base with you today and show you what I've been working on. Like I said, I had the opportunity to rip out all this, because a lot of this over here was soft and squishy. You saw last video as I was pulling it up with my bare hands. A lot of that was squishy, but as I got in here closer to the beam, it got more and more solid, and then I was able to trim it up with my saw. And this is solid as a rock, so I'm not too concerned with that. And so, but all this is all going to be all brand new, and then all that on the bedroom and the other bedroom's all going to be brand new. So basically that third of the house, plus whatever this is all going to be brand new flooring. Eventually, when I want to get there, I want to get to I've got it already in my head what kind of flooring I wanted to do here. I mostly wanted it for the kitchen and the bathroom. It's 3/8 or what they call 8mm flooring that is got the plastic back on it, right? It's for wet areas. Now, I just coincidentally, I watched a video on YouTube where this couple, they used that same stuff on the wall of the shower stall. That's how sturdy and wet resistant this stuff is. They probably used the 1/4 inch or the 6mm, right? But it's got the plastic on the back. It's for like wet areas. They use it in kitchens and bathrooms. But so I'm going to do it for kitchen, utility room, this area out here, bathroom, definitely for the bathroom, up until the shower stall. Now I'm going to put tile in the shower stall. But that gave me an idea. There's no reason why I can't use that same flooring for the wall of the shower. I thought it was interesting. But I'll have to check into it because, I'd much rather, well, of course, you'd have the Sluder-Curdy backing system on the shower stall first, and then you can pretty much put anything you want up there. But I don't know how much, longevity that product would have. I want this house to last another 50, 100 years. I myself, I'll be lucky I get another 20 years out of the deal, right? But it's a good selling point. There's no curb going into the shower stall. I'm an elderly gentleman. It markets to the older. It's a Rambler, basically, but it's going to have an upstairs. When the grandkids come and visit or whatever, their bedroom can be upstairs, as long as they leave the equipment alone. Like I said, I got to YouTube studio that's going to go in up there. Then I'll have 2 or 3 monitors up there. You know, it'll be a real professional studio, so it'll look really nice. Anyway, I didn't want to have to ramble too long. I do that sometimes. I have a tendency to ramble. As you notice on my last video, which I haven't published just yet, there's a funny story that goes behind that. I got to go home here tomorrow and next day. I got tied up with a few things. I'm trying to run 2 or 3 other businesses while I'm doing my YouTube channel. So, but anyway, I'll get that one published. This one's going into the works. And then I'm just going to lay back and tinker some more and play with this. I mostly set up, after I got this floor stripped and sized in and everything, I set up over there getting my floor, my living room floor was kind of getting saggy in there a little bit. So I got that lifted up a little bit. I got that lifted up a little bit, got that lifted up a little bit. I still got a few more inches here and there, and it'll eventually all be level again, which will be great. Then I'll get I'm looking at the floor here. It looks like that's a high spot where you're sitting on, and it kind of goes down a little bit over there. And then we already know that it goes down over there. That's kind of the low spot in the whole house because, you know, the dirt's too high. I don't know if you can see it from here. It's, yeah, right there. See that dirt back there? Anyway, it comes up within just a few inches of the joist, the floor joists. And so they got all soft and squishy, and they got a couple of spots. Mostly in the bedroom here, it fell through, right? It was just laying on the ground because of the carpeting it used to have there and the leaky roof that we had. But the other floor in there has got all this gorgeous flooring. Let me grab you, please, piece here. Now, this one's not a good example. It's got all that sticky stuff on it from linoleum, but where well, in the bedroom there, it's perfectly beautiful. You can see the wood grain. It's a very dark, almost like a mahogany color. It's birch. Birch is rarely ever used. It's a dark wood. You know, oak is a lighter wood. Well, birch is a darker wood. And then it's finished with a lacquer or something, you know, like back in the old days. I'm going to have that whole living room completely sanded. I've done that before, and then finish it off in like a walnut or something, color-wise, you know, for a stain, which will only enhance the darkness of it. It'll be fine. It'll be great. And then all that whole second bedroom, it's all perfectly preserved birch, and it's all dark color. So what I'm going to do is pull up all of that real carefully. Now, I managed to destroy like every other one, but where I get the chance to get a hold of it and pull it out of the groove, the tongue and groove, I can salvage about 2/3 of most of it, right? And then some of them, they're not going to be full length because, you know, all the nails in it. You know, I got to pull all the nails out. And they wind up chewing it up. You know, they bust off the tongue in that spot. So there's an inch or two or however much of the tongue that gets ripped off. But if it doesn't do much damage to the rest of it, then I will use it. Now, oops, this one, the top is destroyed, so I'm going to wind up cutting it off here. And this is ruined. But you see the tongue is intact all the way down the board. And the groove is intact all the way down the board. So cutting it off right here, I've got a perfectly good piece of board right there. So there you go. There's a 2.5 foot sample of what I can do. Yep, 2.5. That's going to go. That'll be firewood. So I'm going to do that. And then all these other ones that I pulled up, most of them right up here in this area, there's a foot, maybe 2 feet length of each one of those. So we're going to get those all conditioned up. And there's a couple of places I have to patch in the living room. I notice over by the front door, the subflooring underneath the floor has degraded. So I got to get underneath there and do all the subflooring. So I got to pull all of that up. But there's also, for whatever reason, There's a plywood patch in the living room over by the big window. Plywood patch. I don't know. It comes out to about 3 feet out on the floor. So I got to patch a big spot into there and then over by the front door a little bit. So I'm going to need a lot of this stuff. And if I see another 1 or 2 pieces that need to be replaced, now I might redesign the floor a little bit because I noticed, now I don't know who did this, the flooring guy, 90 years ago when this house was built, there's a 1/4 inch slip of flooring right down the middle where all the pieces come together. There's a quarter inch. Who does that? I don't know. It makes you wonder sometimes. If the guy knew it was going to be that close, he's got to start from the middle and work out. You can't just go from both sides and then in, and there's a 1/4 inch, then, so what do? You take a 1/4 inch, or you take an 1/8 off of 2 of the boards or whatever. You just shorten it all up. I don't know. They did that, so I'm going to fix it. When I do stuff, I like to make sure it gets done right or at least better. So anyway, like I said, most of these are just to keep you up to date, show you what I've been doing. I installed this one joist right in front of your face. Like I said, it's solid as a rock. Now my joist hanger's hanging off a little bit, but if I get that flooring jacked up enough, I might be able to get the new 2x12s in there, slide them in there, and then get all those other joists in the living room all chopped off, and we'll piece that all together. Like I said, baby steps. Oh, that reminds me. I brought a dry erasable board today. I got a smaller one at home, so I thought I'd bring. It's going to be my my markup list of things that I need to do, kind of bullet points, So, like when contractors started getting finished up with a project, they got a punch list. This is nowhere a punch list, but it'll keep me motivated to go on to the next project, We'll get there. If you've made it this far, I encourage you to throw me a like and a subscribe. And if you want, throw me a comment too. I love reading those. I've gotten a couple of real good ones lately. People asking me about the my solar battery that I'm using. I had another person, they bought the same thing that I did, a metal NMH solar battery, a lithium battery, comes out of a Prius, a Gen 1 Prius, 01 to 03. And so he bought the same thing, and he had some questions about hooking it up, charging it, blah, 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 configuring it for 12 or 24. I was telling him that 24 volts doesn't really work with those because those cells are not 3.2. Those cells are 7.2. And to do a 24, 3 cells is too small, and 4 cells might be a little bit on the high side. Because you have to charge it at least to what the cell is rated at. 7.2 times 4 is 28.8. So you're doing almost 29 volts. For a 24 volt system, it's a bit too much. So 24 volt system is difficult to work with, for that particular kind of battery. Now other batteries are fine. Your Tesla Model S battery packs, they're 24 volts, 5.2 kilowatts. I love those things. That's already configured at 24 volts. The voltage coming out of the battery is like 400 volts, but it goes in, it's configured to where it's all like you can get 24 volts out of it. Each module is at 24 volts, and then it's added. They got, how many cells have they got? How many modules they got? 16 modules? I have to look it up, but 16 times 24 volts, wherever that works out to be, that's 400 volts. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, again, I get off on these tangents. Like, subscribe, throw me a comment. I love answering those things. And then we'll see you in the next video.